It is amazing and wonderful to be here, especially to be honored together with two organizations that I think are just phenomenal. Obviously, ACLU that I worked for, but wow, I don't know what we would have done without Lambda over the years on all of this work. So I want to thank, obviously, the leadership of the ABA Commission on Human Rights for honoring me and these two amazing organizations with the Eleanor Roosevelt Prize for Global Human Rights Advancement. I can't imagine anyone better than Eleanor Roosevelt for us to be associated with. She was and is an icon for us. Her grace, her smarts, her energy, these are the things that she brought to her country during her time and that we need in our country now. So, to the ABA Commission on Human Rights, I want to thank you for the amazing work you do, and some of which we heard about tonight. I want to thank you for using this event to celebrate 50 years since Stonewall. And the fact is, we have a lot to celebrate 50 years from Stonewall. Sort of part of what Susan was saying, that some things are not going to go backwards, even while it feels like so much is going backwards. But the fact is, we live in something of a patchwork nation now. There are LGBT children growing up today fully accepted in their families, in their schools, in their communities. We have LGBT adults now working in jobs at every level, living lives fully of honesty and integrity. I think some of us now as LGBT people who are able to live lives of honesty and integrity, I think it might have been almost impossible to envision 50 years ago. But we live in a patchwork nation. There are LGBT children today who are being rejected by their families, who are going to schools where they are bullied every day and they cannot even go to the bathroom that is consistent with their gender. There are LGBT adults today who are being fired from their jobs because they are LGBT, or they are being harassed horribly at their jobs and they can't afford to leave because they need the job. There are LGBT adults across this country who are not out anywhere to their family, to their religious and social communities. No one should have to live that way. Living in a patchwork nation is not okay. Wherever one lives, large cities, small towns, LGBT people should be able to live lives of honesty and integrity. And those of us who are privileged enough and capable enough to help create that type of world, we have a responsibility for doing so. Now, we might do it in conjunction with a group like the ABA Commission on Human Rights. We might do it in conjunction with ACLU or Lambda or some other organization. We might do it through daily interactions with people. But in whatever way we do it, we have a responsibility for doing it. The only option is not to do something. If we have learned anything from Eleanor Roosevelt, I hope we have learned that. So, in that context, I want to say a few words about anger and passion, and then make a comment about generosity of spirit. We need anger and passion to help change the world. In the late 1980s, AIDS was ravaging our communities. We were watching our friends die. There were no drugs to help them. There was no law to help them when they were being discriminated against in employment, housing, social services. We were angry, justifiably so. And that fed our passion. For some people, it made them create groups like ACT UP and take to the streets. For others, it made them bring litigation and fight for legislation. For me, in 1988, it made me take a job at the ACLU AIDS Project and the Lesbian Gay Rights Project that Nan Hunter had established, the first such project to exist at a national non-gay organization, the ACLU. Lambda was amazing in terms of existing as a gay rights legal organization. There's a reason it was the ACLU that allowed the creation of the LGBT Rights Project and the AIDS Project. And our work on the ADA was an exemplar of the type of coalition work necessary to make change. If we have learned anything, it is that not one of us operates by ourselves. We make change together, again, in exactly the way, Susan, you said. I will tell you that the AIDS community and gay men did not initially see themselves as people with disabilities. And members of the disability community did not initially see themselves as comrades in arms with gay men. But that changed. It changed because individual people built bridges across communities and made the case to have a united front, made the case about our similarities, not our differences. And together, the disability and AIDS communities then partnered with the general civil rights community, the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights, the premier civil rights organization in Washington. Together, all three communities were able to bring the ADA to fruition, using both legislative political work in Washington, which is where I played, and grassroots organizing around the country. So it was the collective anger and passion of thousands of people that brought us the ADA, finally providing anti-discrimination protection for people with any type of disability, including people with AIDS and HIV. Of course, discrimination still exists, both against people with AIDS and HIV. I see Catherine Hansen's here and 3 of her staff who are continuing to work against discrimination against people with AIDS and HIV, and of course, still against LGBT people. So during the 9 years that I was a commissioner at the EEOC, I am grateful that the EEOC was able to play an important role in helping to bring what I call common sense to the law. 1964, Congress passed a law saying you could not discriminate based on sex. Just thinking logically, that should have protected gay people and transgender people. I mean, like, really. If Charles has a picture of his wife Nancy on his desk and everything is fine, and I put a picture of my spouse, Nan, that is the same Nan, by the way, Nan Hunter, that started all of this. But anyway, if I put a picture of my spouse, Nan, on the desk and I'm fired, the only difference between me and Charlie is our sex. So to the extent that the law says sex should not be taken into account, there is nothing but sex that is distinguishing me and Charlie. And if Charlie applies for a job and gets a job offer and then calls the week before and says she'll be showing up as Charlene and the job offer is pulled back, there is nothing but sex that has changed here. So from my perspective, EEOC brought common sense to the law. As you heard, the question is now before the Supreme Court as to whether the Supreme Court will take the same common sense approach. I don't know if it will, but so does, as you heard, it doesn't matter in terms of our anger and passion and commitment to change. Because either the Supreme Court will rule that there is such coverage, and that'll make a huge difference across this country. And then we need to be there helping people understand the law. Or they will decide otherwise, and then you have to go to the legislature. So I'm going to end with a few final words about generosity of spirit. So it's not easy to feel generosity when one is angry and resentful about something that is wrong. But as Nelson Mandela said, resentment is a poison you swallow thinking it will kill your enemy. Anger can eat away at us sometimes in a way that is not healthy and not constructive. So we need to channel that anger and passion in a constructive manner. To me, part of what that means is not allowing our anger and passion to stop us from reaching across divides to make common ground with others who may have opposed us in the past, if that is possible, given the situation. Often it's not possible, and I'm sure you can all imagine situations in which that's not possible. But for those times and those situations in which it might be possible, I hope we can find the generosity of spirit to try to reach across and try to make connections with folks who have opposed us in the past. So I want to end by thanking all of you. By being here, you are supporting the incredible work of the ABA Commission on Human Rights. You are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, and you are honoring an amazing woman, Eleanor Roosevelt. But you know, also by being here, gathering in this manner, you are supporting each other. In this moment of time, we need each other's support more than ever. We need to know that we are standing side by side with others who care as we do about justice in the world. We need each other. We always have, and we definitely will need it going forward. Thank you so much.